What's going on, fuckers? The Be More podcast is back. Now, I would suggest, if you are watching this on YouTube, to listen to it on the podcast because it's very dark in this living room and I can't seem to change the lighting. So, yeah, download it, listen to it, go for a walk, get outside, enjoy the outdoors, even though the weather in this country, if you're listening from the UK, is pretty pants. And if you're listening from Australia, you know who you are. Walking along the beach, be very, very grateful for how amazing your surroundings are and how nice and how much of a difference vitamin D makes in your life because, well, the weather here has not stopped raining since I've been home. So, yeah, we'll do a quick intro. I am solo again today. The podcast will have Simon back on it very soon and we're going to start interviewing some guests and hopefully, getting some knowledge bombs for you guys and just meeting some cool people. That's the idea behind the podcast and getting their stories and what motivates them, what makes them more successful, what makes them more happy, and what makes them live life to the full. I guess that's the idea of this podcast and just to be more. And so yeah, quick intro. Just got back from Australia. I got back last Wednesday evening, so I've been back about 4 or 5 days now. And the first 4 or 5 days have sucked. It's been like holiday blues. I'm just thinking, looking out the window and it's always dark in this country, it seems. Like in Sydney, I woke up at like 4:35am on most days. I went for a run on the seafront and it was just so nice. There was people everywhere exercising with a smile on their face. The weather was great and it was just so nice. Whereas here, I woke up at 7am on Saturday, or it might have been Sunday, and it was pitch black outside. I was like, what the fuck? And the human species is designed to be awake in the daylight and asleep when it's dark. And it seems like the days here are just so short. So I feel like people out there must be getting so much more shit done because it's daylight longer. And I don't know if the summer is going to be good this year in the UK, but I fucking hope it is. So yeah, it's a very negative start to the podcast. But yeah, quick brief of the trip to Australia. You should go check out my Australia vlog on YouTube where I basically highlight reeled the whole trip, and yeah, it was just amazing. It was an incredible 3 weeks and it taught me so much. Like I mentioned it in the in my YouTube vlog, like I read all year, all the time, and I'm reading different books, trying to learn heaps and just do things every day to try and learn and grow as a person. I haven't done this all the time, by the way. I've done this for like the last year. Since I travelled last time, it made me realise, like I woke up and realised, right, to get the most out of life, I need to know more, and I enjoy learning. It makes me feel good, and it like makes me more creative. So that's why I read. But then I learnt more, honestly, on a 3-week holiday than I have reading. I think I read over 100 books last year. I learnt more on that trip than I did reading over 100 books. Now, yeah, it was just an incredible experience. So don't let the long flight put you off. Now, if you saw my flight, I had a 16 or 14 hour stopover in Beijing. So that was horrendous. But I had a look around China. It was pretty cool. Very cold in China this time of year, by the way. But yeah, do not let the flight put you off. Get out there and just go, or go anywhere. Like see some other cultures. Be around, like just escape reality for a few weeks. Then when you come back, you're like, okay, I need to change my reality because you just learn more about what's actually out there and it's just there's more to life than the way we live it. And yeah, so it was a great trip, and I would love to see you guys on holiday. Tag me in your pics and be like, I fucking went. And yeah, rather than waste your money on fucking going out and getting pissed and doing drugs every weekend. Save your money, do things at the weekend that make you feel better, and make you healthier. Because most people are awesome Monday to Friday lunchtime with their diet, with their training programs. Then when it gets to the weekend, they just fuck everything. And I know that because I've been there. Like I used to train super hard all week, and then I'd play football on a Saturday, and then from 5 p.m. it would just be just ruin the whole week's progress by just getting fucked up. And it just, when you look back and like you realise, like, that's fun and fair enough. Like if that's what makes you happy, having a massive binge up at the weekend, then that's cool. Like I'm not going to sit here and say you shouldn't do that. I just feel like it was a waste of all my training that I was doing, and my diet, like I'd eat fairly well. Like now, my knowledge of nutrition is so much better that I can get away with having a big binge up on a Saturday, to a point, you know. But it's just a waste, and that's the way I see things. Rather than waste your money on just shit that's just not things you're not going to remember. Do you know what I mean? Don't know why I'm asking the question on a podcast, but it's just these meaningful experiences and creating relationships and meeting new people. For me, that outweighs getting pissed at the weekend. So I have lots of travel goals this year, and I want to try and almost do a holiday a month this year, or try and get away for once a month this year. And I feel like that'll help me with my progress I make this year. And I'm going to save money from other things that I don't feel like it's going to be an expense, because previous years, like my financial, I'm terrible with money, whereas this year I'm making it a goal to be better with money. Then I want to use that money that I'm saving on the things that I shouldn't be wasting money on things like travel. So basically just using my money to serve me rather than to just waste like most people do. We live in a world where we just live month to month, and it's just almost depressing. So and we spend our money on things that doesn't actually make us happy. We think they won't make us happy, and that this is what this podcast is going to be about. So I've just started reading a book called The Happiness Advantage. I started it this morning, so I'm going to try and read this book this week. And the first paragraph, I was just like, oh my God, I can resonate so much with this book. And the book is basically about, we always think to ourselves, when I have that, I'll be happy. Or when I have this, I'll be happy. And it's just a false psychology and a false way to look at life, really. And I know this full well because I live my life this way. I spent years doing it. Like I thought, when I've got this car, I'll be happy. I got the car I wanted. It didn't make a fucking difference. Just like when I was like, oh, if I get shredded, I'll be happy. Got shredded, did a competition, didn't make me happy. In fact, it made me unhappy because it's an unsustainable way to live your life, because you can't be that lean all year round. So then you gain weight afterwards, and then you don't look nowhere near as good. And then you're like, fuck. So now, also another thing, wanted to live in a posh apartment, so I rented out a penthouse. And really, it didn't make me happy because it was just stressful having to pay for it. And know that I'm paying money in to make someone else rich, which is one of those things with renting. But now my mindset on that has changed. Like I'll happily rent my own where I live, but then I'll use investments to buy properties that I don't live in, because your own house is a liability rather than an asset. Whereas if you buy assets like properties and then rent them out, then it becomes an asset because it's serving you. Whereas your own property isn't always an asset. Obviously you've got capital growth, but then you're paying for that, so it's more of a liability, which I'm open to argument with, and many people will probably argue with me on that one, but I would rather spend my money investing in properties that I can rent out rather than ones that I would live in myself, and that's just my own personal opinion. So that's what I'm trying to get into this year, property. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll shed some information on that as it happens. But yeah, back to the book. I need to stop going off on tangents. It's something I do a lot. Also, a book that I read, another tangent, in Australia, The One Thing. One of my mates in Australia recommended it, so I was like, right, do you know what, I'm going to go buy it. I actually read like 5 books when I was in Australia, so it sounds like I was just reading all the time. But audio books as well. So when I was walking to a lot of places, I was averaging like 20,000 steps a day. It just seems when you're in Sydney, it seems to be stupid to stay inside. So just getting outside all lot and just go and see things, because the weather's so nice. So I was listening to audio books when I was commuting. This was when I was on my own. And yeah, one of the audiobooks I listened to is The One Thing. And yeah, basically not going off on tangents and just focusing on one thing at a time, and how that will help me big time this year, because I'm always being distracted, or I struggle to get one thing done, whereas this is like the key to productivity and getting more done and seeing success in the one area that you want the most. So that's like nail down the one goal you've got and then put all your energy into that. Or when you're doing a task, put all your energy into that rather than have your phone next to you or get distracted. And that's something that's helped me a lot. But anyway, tangent off. Go read that book or listen to it. And everyone who's asked how I listen to books, I use an app called Audible. And Audible is owned by Amazon. And yeah, it's one of the greatest apps you'll ever have. So basically you get one book a month. I think it's like £7 a month. I pay for the more expensive one. I think it's like £12 a month, and I get 2 books a month. And yeah, that's just basically what I listen to when I'm driving or when I'm walking or I'd literally just stick my AirPods in, which is the best investment, by the way. Get a pair of AirPods because they're so easy and so good to use. Yeah, so good and so easy to use was what I meant. And yeah, I'll listen to like a book. I try to listen to a book and read a book once a week, so that I get through like 2 books a week. If the book's super long, then obviously it takes a little bit longer. But yeah, that's the goal this year. So with that being said, that'll make me reading or getting over 104 books in a year. That's the way I look at things. You got to look at things in a long term, like a macro goal, but then micro daily. What can you do? So I'll try and read like 10 to 15, 20 pages a day, and then I'll listen when I'm commuting. So that's gold in itself. From this podcast, start doing that, and that will change your life big time. Whether you read something about your main hobbies, what you like to read about, or just do something that's really productive and makes you feel good, and then just do it every day, and that'll accumulate over time to give you the results and give you the mindset and the enjoyment that you want from the activity, rather than just sitting there all the time scrolling through social media, which I'm a dick for. Like I do it all the time, and then you like sit there like an hour later, that was very negative. That's a negative way to spend your time. Which it's one of those things. Social media is a way of life now. If you're not on it, you'll lose, and it's just the way it is. But don't spend too much time on it. Spend time doing things that's productive and make you feel good, like training, like eating well, like listening to stuff, reading stuff, and doing things that is productive. Anyway, I'm going to read the opening paragraph of this book, The Happiness Advantage, because I feel like it was really cool for me to read it, and I want to read it. So I enjoyed reading it, so I want to read it to you guys because I feel like it will help. So, introduction, literally the first page. If you observe the people around you, you'll find most individuals follow a formula that has been subtly or not subtly taught them by their schools, their company, their parents, or society. That is, if you work hard, you will become successful, and once you become successful, then you'll be happy. This pattern of belief explains what most often motivates us in life. We think, if you get that raise or if you hit that next sales target, I'll be happy. If I can just get that next good grade, I'll be happy. If I lose that £5, I'll be happy, and so on. Success first and happiness second. The only problem is that with this formula, this formula is broken. If success causes happiness, then every employee who gets a promotion, or every student who receives an acceptance letter, or everyone who has ever accomplished any goal of any kind should be happy. But with every victory, our goalposts of success keep getting pushed further and further out, so that happiness gets pushed over the horizon. Is that true for you? Like for me, so true. That the goalposts just always move, and it's something that I speak to my clients about all the time. They're like, this is what I want. I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it. And then when they get there, I'm like, this is what you said you wanted. Why aren't you happy? They're like, well, I want this now. And the goalposts just move. So rather than think, right, I'm going to be happy when I've reached a certain point in my life or a certain goal, be happy now. And then when you get there, the truth is you'll get there faster if you're happy now anyway. But you're probably thinking, oh, it's easy for you to say, Jack, but I have nothing to be happy about. You fucking do. Like everyone has, like we're so lucky to just to be alive. Like let alone, like I can't. I've had times in my life where I've been super unhappy, right? And I can't sit here and pretend that I haven't had that. But now that I feel life's too short to be unhappy, and life's far too short to live life with a negative mindset or with a mindset of like a victim mindset. Like we all get the same 24 hours in a day. We're all going to die. Like the way you spend your time should be dictated by how you want to spend it, not by being a servant to someone else or being a servant to a mindset that isn't serving you. So be happy, be grateful for what you have, be grateful for opportunities that we have in the world that we live in today. Like we're so lucky, we can do anything. We can literally do anything. And forget about money. We can do anything that we want to do, and that should be what drives you, not your income. And I've been guilty of this before, and then you realise the more money you make doesn't actually correlate with how happy you are. It really doesn't. And I know people are probably thinking, like that's rich to say, or what, you might have your own opinion on that. But the more money you make does not correlate with how happy you are. That there's heaps of really rich people who have killed themselves, and that like it's real. Money isn't the key to happiness. Money can make a difference because it can create experiences for you. So it's great to have goals like that are financial, but it's also really important to understand that that isn't going to make you happy. Be happy now, and then the goals will come. And the happier you are, the more productive you'll be, the more creative you'll be, the more efficient you'll be, and everything will just come together faster and more efficiently and in a more sustainable way because you're already happy. You're not trying to strive for a mindset or something that isn't actually you. So, yeah, that's my rant for the day. So, yeah, but yeah, if you look back at studies on and research in the field of psychology, it's a 17-to-1 ratio of negative to positive studies. So most research is done on negative, like depression, all the bad things you can think about with regards to psychology. There's 17 times more the amount of research done on that than there are on happiness and positive psychology. That just shows that how fucked everything is in a minute. And also in that book, there's a wellness week at New England boarding school, or there was anyway, that this guy done research on. On the Monday, this is a wellness week. On Monday, it was eating disorders. Tuesday's topic, depression. Wednesday's topic, drugs and violence. Thursday's, risky sex. Interesting, I'd go to that. Friday, well, who knew what Fridays would be about? But that's not a wellness week, that's a sickness week. And this is the problem we've got. Like, if you turn on the news, the majority of the airtime is spent on accidents, corruption, murders. It's tricking our brains into believing that most of our life is negative. And that the thing is, what we spend our time and energy on becomes our reality. So if you're constantly watching the news and seeing negative shit, if you're constantly surrounding yourself with negative people who have this very small mind, like they think small at everything, that they feel like they're serving, that they're always negative. They're like, oh, I can't lose weight, my diet's not working, oh, the gym's just full of posers, or oh, I've eaten shit all week. Do you know what I mean? There's just people that are so negative, or they moan about their boss at work all the time, oh, he's a prick, or that they just never have anything positive to say. Whereas if you surround yourself with people who think really big, and they're like, I'm going to do this year. 2018 is going to be the year that I'll do this and this. Or somebody who's reading all the time, and someone who's trying to invest in themselves all the time. Someone who's got a growth mindset rather than one that's making a mindset that's actually serving them and getting them to their goals. Surround yourself with people like that, and then watch how much of a difference that makes in your life. And stop watching the news. Watch things on YouTube that is motivational, or that is educational, or whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden you'll find yourself that everything in your life will change, because you're not listening to the same shit every day on the news about how everything's negative, when in reality the world is not always negative. There are some people out there that are amazing, that would put energy into any room. And this is what it frustrates me about society and the way we're led to think. That we're led to think that we should work for someone, make them very rich, and then we earn enough money just about to cover our expenses. And it's just a depressing fucking way of living life. And this is what we were taught. We're taught to be part of the system, and it pisses me off because it shouldn't be that way. And we have like I said earlier, we've got so many opportunities now to do what we want, yet we're all stuck in this system of thinking we have to do this. This is how we have to live our life. We have to do X, Y, and Z. We have to try and afford a mortgage that we can't afford. We have to try and spend forever. In my age, it's so hard to get mortgages. For youngsters, or for people that are like 18 to 26, 27, like getting on the property ladder is so much harder. And we're like taught, we have to save, we have to go and do that. And at the same time, we've got our mates getting us to get on it every weekend, to waste all our money on doing that. Like, what, we can't win. And it's just, I'm trying to save so I can buy a house, but then I'm wasting all my money on cars just to try and act like I'm a baller. And it's wrong, because none of it's so hard to me to explain how much it frustrates me, but I've been there, and I'm like, I can't explain to you. If you're younger, which is what this podcast is for, like guys that are growing and girls that are growing up, and they want to get an insight into, I don't know, a guy who's turning 26 this year. I'm so old, but I'm far from a life coach. I don't ever want to be a life coach. I just want to spread information that I wish I could have listened to when I was like 21, 19, 20. Like, I made so many mistakes. Like, university for me was gambling and getting pissed. Whereas now, I'd love to go and learn something. I'd love to go to university and actually put some time into it. I'd love to be able to go and live somewhere else. So for university, 1, I commuted. 2, I spent most of my time gambling. I gambled over 30 grand in the 3 years that I was at university. I won 31, but that's not that's irrelevant. So I was like a grand up, but the amount of stress and the amount of shit that caused me, like, fucking what an idiot. And 3, I commuted. I would rather go study somewhere different, like whether it be abroad or whether it be up north or whether it be somewhere else, live somewhere, like move out from home, live somewhere on my own or live somewhere with friends, meet new people. Like, my mindset on things is different, whereas before I'd be like, oh no, I've got my friends here in Portsmouth and I'm going to stick to my safe zone. I'll drive to university and back because then I can stay at home because I know I'm safe at home. Just a different mindset. And if I had somebody shouting at me on a podcast or a video on YouTube saying, do it, just go and do it, go and travel the world or go and study somewhere else or go and do something, because life's too short to live it in one place and life's too short to not do things and just put yourself out of your comfort zone and try and grow as a person. So yeah, that is why I'm doing this podcast. And you might even be like way older than me and listening to this and thinking, do you know what, he's still got a fucking point. And even if I haven't got a point, like, hopefully that will spark some kind of thinking to make you think, do you know what, I can do something else this year, or I can just do something that's going to make you a happier person and just enjoy life more, because that's what I want for people. And that brings me on to something else I want to talk about on this podcast, which is nutrition, which obviously I'm massive on with my job and my line of work, but it isn't just for getting in shape. Nutrition is is something that you do every single day, and it will change your life if you do it well. Like, I can't explain to you how important it is, the foods we eat. And it doesn't mean you have to count macros or do things in a certain way, like the way I recommend for body composition. It's just for health and mindset. Like, eating a healthy diet and eating foods that are going to make you feel good is just going to make such a big difference to the way you live your life and the way you perform and the way you feel. And the problem is that we live in a world where nutrition is just, we're clueless with it. We're largely clueless with it. I've only got this knowledge of nutrition because I've spent fucking heaps of money and spent hours and hours and hours every week trying to study it and trying to learn more about nutrition. And I feel like in school we should be taught nutrition at school. Like, it's such a key life skill, and we should be taught how to manage money, how to actually be a good human to society in school. Instead we're taught fucking algebra or things that have no relevance to our life at all, and then they wonder why when we go out in the big wide world we become part of the system, which is just to work for somebody else, make them really rich, and then we just basically get enough money to just about get by. And yeah, for me, the whole education system is fucking wrong. We should be taught practical things that help us in our life. And yeah, that's negative fucking talk. But if I could change anything about anything, it would be just, right, plus the government guidelines on nutrition are fucking pants. And it's just all wrong. So I hate being negative and ranting in this way, but I just feel so passionate about it. And well, while I was in Australia, I felt amazing, right? I was the happiest I've been in such a long time. But there was one thing that was really bugging for me, and it was my nutrition. Because obviously when you're on holiday, and I made the most of being on holiday, I ate out every meal. And do you know when you're in a restaurant and you think, I'm probably never going to come here again, so I'm going to have something on the menu that I really want to have. And it might not be the most healthiest thing. So then that accumulated over every meal that I ate to a point where I didn't feel that great, because I was always feeling this uncomfortable with my stomach. We never felt the same. I was always bloated, just because I was eating in a way that I'm not used to eating. And my energy levels were up and down because I was eating foods that I wouldn't typically normally eat. And yeah, I just didn't feel that great because of my diet. And then I was like, do you know what? Next time I do this kind of thing, I'm going to eat a bit differently. Not completely differently because it's just boring, but... And it made me realise and it made me be grateful for how much I like the ability to control my diet so that I can look and feel a certain way. And it wasn't even regardless of how I look, it was just the way I feel. Like you just feel so much better when you're... I've noticed that I perform and feel so much better when I control nutrition in a way that emphasises that. Whereas constantly eating things and... There's a thin line between the balance of being mega social and like having fun and being adventurous and doing things, and then being super anal with nutrition. And at home, admittedly, I'm pretty anal with nutrition. Like I am very anal compared to the average Joe with what I eat. But it made me realise that how much that makes a difference in how I feel. So one day I'll move to Australia and then I'll get a grip on my nutrition while I'm there, and then I'd be like, okay, this is living the fucking dream, because one, the weather's beautiful, I'm spending so much time outdoors, I'm spending time with really positive people, I'm eating really well, and it would just be perfect. But then the goalposts undoubtedly would be moving, but I'll know that I can't strive for anything else. I've got to be happy in the present moment, and then the goals that I've got set will come as a result of me being happy, and that's just how it works, and I genuinely believe that. But yeah, if this podcast makes you do two things, it'll be to read or to get audible and just listen to things that are going to help you make more progress this year in whatever area it is that you're trying to progress, because you can read and listen to anything. There's stuff about, or even like just podcasts. There's heaps of podcasts that you can listen to. My favourite at the minute is the Joe Rogan podcast. It's heaps better than mine. Go listen to that. And yeah, eat. Look, make a goal this year to really nail your nutrition. So not only are you going to feel better if you look a little bit in the mirror, because nutrition will control that. Like, as much as you think it's all about the gym, it's mainly nutrition. Training is like super important for heaps of things, but the way you look is largely dictated by nutrition. Obviously, if you don't train at all, then it's going to obviously not help. But for me, my nutrition changes everything, because I always train anyway. I even train when I'm in Australia, but the way I eat dictates the way I look. So yeah, nail your nutrition. Eat more vegetables, eat more fruit. Like, I'm starting to eat loads more fish because I know the health benefits that it brings. And it's just, yeah, I can't explain enough how important it is. And I'm going to do a podcast on nutrition solely, where I'm like, right, forget about the way you look. This nutritional approach will make you perform really well, and then everything else will come together 100%. Just like I'm saying about the happiness stuff, be happy and then your results will come. If you control the performance aspect of your diet to make you feel better, the look will come and you'll look better. And this is where people go wrong. They're like, oh, I'm going to restrict calories to 1,000 a day because I want to lose a stone real quick. You'll feel fucking shit the whole time because it's not enough food. And then you'll get to that point and you'll be like, fucking hell, I'm just exhausted, I'm going to binge, because you hit your goal weight and all of a sudden you fucking gain that weight back. And it's just an unsustainable way of doing things. Whereas if you eat to make you feel good, everything else will come together, because then you'll start training better, you'll exercise more, you'll feel better, and everything will come together, and then you'll look better as a result, and you'll be able to maintain them results because they're built on a sustainable approach. And yeah, I'm going to do a whole podcast on that, and I'll proper plan it. I might even do like a presentation for you guys on YouTube on nutrition and how to perform better and how to make you feel better. And then the results, that the way you look will come along with that anyway. So yeah, this has been like a bit of a rambling podcast. I'm not sure if it's going to add much value, but let me know what you think. Thanks for everyone who got back to me with regards to my last podcast, the first one I did solo. I'm going to probably do a solo podcast quite regularly because I enjoy doing them. But yeah, the idea of the podcast obviously is to interview people and get an insight into their stories. So that's something I'm going to do. And if you want to come on the podcast, like, you haven't got to be like X amount successful or whatever. Like, I just want to get to know people, hear their stories, and everyone's got something you can learn something from. No matter what, regardless of people think, oh, they align success with income. Like fuck that. If someone's got a cool story, or even just like a way that they do something they're really good at, even if they suck. That's annoying. The podcast the video just stopped filming. But yeah, if someone's got something that they're really good at, even if they suck shit at everything else, I want to know what makes them so good at that one thing, and then we can share that on the podcast to make everyone else better at that one thing. You know. And it's just trying to get an insight into the things that they do daily, and what can we maybe do, what can maybe we adjust in our lifestyle to try and help us improve in a certain area, whether it be training, whether it be diet, whether it be work, whether it be relationships, or whether it be just how we feel and how we operate. Like there's always room for more, and room for better, and room for happier. And this is what it's all about. It's not about earn more money. It's not about well, it's about just being happier and living life in a way that makes, just living life to its full. And that's what I really want to do, because I feel like for 25 years, I'm not really sure if I have. Like I know that I've had a really good fucking life, and I've had an amazing upbringing, and I'm so grateful for that. But I just feel like there's been times, not just like micro-wise, like in my day that I can do more, but like in my months and in my weeks and in my years, like there's been times that I know I could have done more. And I like, for example, travelling, should have done it way sooner, then I would have learned way more, and I would have been in this position way sooner. Also, reading, should have started reading way earlier. Football, should have tried harder. Do you know what I mean? These little things, but life is about learning, about lessons in this. Whether you learn from the things that have happened and you take action on what you learn, or it's whether you just think, oh, fucking hell, that, yeah, should have tried harder, but I didn't, and yeah, can't bothered. If you've got that kind of mindset, then you're fucked. You're never going to be happy or work towards what you want. So it's just having that just learning from where you go wrong, and it's taking action on that and making sure it doesn't happen again. So, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the podcast, and do me a favour, and if you're listening on your phone or whatever you're doing, screenshot it, Instagram story it, or Snapchat it, tag me in it. I don't really use Snapchat, unfortunately. I'm more an Instagram storyer, which you probably know because I've absolutely killed Instagram story. Tag me in it and let me know what you think. That will mean the world to me. And yeah, if you want to be a guest, or if you know someone who might be a really good guest, then please hit me up and let me know, and we'll make it happen. Because yeah, there's no you don't have to fit a certain bill. You just have to be someone who wants to come on the podcast and talk, and that's someone that might shed a bit of information that might help someone, because that's what I want this podcast to do. Just with every episode, I want to drop one bit of information at least that helps someone, that they can implement into their life, that makes their life better, and that's the aim. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll catch up with you guys very soon, and hopefully we'll get someone on the podcast soon, and we'll interview some cool guests. So yeah, back to it. Back to the UK, and back to the beautiful weather, and back to the grind. And yeah, let's smash 2018, shall we? See you soon. Cheers, guys.